Frank, man. You don't got to be shy. Netflix officially makes it official. Netflix, Jake Paul, MVP Promotions, posting on Instagram and on Twitter. Most Valuable Promotions, that is. Jake El Gallo Paul taking on Gervonta Tank Davis.
All right, fellas. Now, I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis is official. Now, although the idea of this fight is nothing new, it felt like the last thing a lot of us were expecting to see. It's an official deal, set to be broadcasted on Netflix, 10 3-minute rounds. But the kicker? It's an exhibition. A 200-pound Jake Paul versus a 135-pound Gervonta Davis. What could possibly go wrong, huh? So, in light of this wild news, as we always do, we're going to break it all down. First impressions, what should we expect? And will this be the biggest fight of the year? But before we dive in, if you're new around here, my name's Close, and I make boxing content to keep you all informed as it happens. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll always keep you in the loop. Now, as I said before, the idea of Tank versus Paul isn't entirely new. This fight was already signed, sealed, and almost delivered once upon a time. Jake Paul was publicly calling out Tank, teasing a clash. Why? To announce Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis. Although, we all know what happened. Tank went on to draw with Lamont Roach, and it seemed to momentarily derail the entire fight plan. So, Paul didn't rush into the ring to announce the fight. The whole thing went into serious doubt. Everything was delayed. Paul went on and fought Chavez. Everyone thought Tank would rematch Lamont, but instead, he just found himself entangled in some legal trouble. But now, it looks like everything's cleared up, and it's opened the door for this to become official. If you're a regular on the channel, you'd know we've talked about this before. We were actually among the first to suggest that this was a real possibility, and a lot of you called me crazy for saying it could happen. Absolutely. But as often happens, the crystal ball eventually prevails. I honestly expected Tank to rematch Lamont first. From a promotional standpoint, that's what it seemed like the Paul camp wanted him to do. And it made sense because selling a fight with Tank coming off a draw is a lot harder than selling a fight with him coming off a win. Over the last week, there's been news that Lamont Roach seemed to be moving on from the Tank fight. He was calling out Shakur and everyone else. So, it's clear that something else was in the path of Davis, and we now know what it was. So, it's confirmed, Jake versus Tank. Saying it sounds ridiculous is an understatement. It is. This is Mayweather versus Logan round 2. But this time, the star boxer is actually in his prime. Now, although this fight makes absolutely no sense from a boxing perspective, it makes complete sense from a business and promotional standpoint. That's what this fight will be, a masterclass in hype. We didn't see a thriller in the ring, but what we will see is an insane build-up, a ludicrous promotion. That's exactly how they sold us Paul versus Tyson. The build-up was so massive, so crazy, with so many viral moments, it made everyone I knew tune in, even if they didn't watch boxing. And this will be much of the same. I often trash Paul, but the one thing he's undeniably good at is marketing, and this will be a complete lesson in it. They obviously couldn't secure the Joshua fight yet. So, if you can't get Joshua for the moment, why not use your entree as the next biggest name in the sport outside of Canelo and Joshua? Being an exhibition, this bout offers no risk for Jake Paul. He can't cop an L here because there's no decision in an exhibition. There's no winner and there's no loser. For Paul, this is a risk-free way of elevating his name further. We're going to see mad talk in the build-up, but because of the constraints of it being an exhibition, it's likely both of them know they can't really do anything substantial. I'm not calling the fight rigged because it isn't. It's just an exhibition. It's meant to be for entertainment, plain and simple. That's how these fights go. There's no official winner or loser. I'm looking at this fight in a similar vein to the Roy Jones versus Tyson bout. They did go at it a bit, but it was an exhibition with rules in place. And I assume with this fight, there's going to be similar parameters in place. The size difference is just too significant. We'll probably end up seeing something along the lines of Paul riding the wave of the promotion, claiming that just getting in the ring with Gervonta Davis itself is a win. After the fight, he'll talk about how he went toe-to-toe with one of the bats
earlier, right? To reiterate, not particularly interested in the matchup of this fight. Some interesting new developments, though, right? All the reporting out of the Ring magazine was November 15th. It is, in fact, November 14th, per Netflix. And no mention of exhibition, no mention of weight. So we kind of still have to see what is to come there. And by the way, like, I feel like this was similar to as I alluded to earlier, the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight had similar kind of question marks around it. Like, is this going to be an exhibition or is this going to be an official fight?
Best knockout artists in boxing, disregarding the fact that he's a full 70 pounds lighter and that this whole thing is an exhibition. It's a delicate balancing act. Paul's camp will be trying to create a narrative where Tank's reputation is somehow diminished by taking the fight, while simultaneously making Jake look like a fearless warrior stepping up to a huge challenge. It's all smoke and mirrors, folks, and the audience is the target. Let's be real. The boxing purists are going to absolutely hate this. They're going to scoff at the mismatch, the spectacle, the blatant commercialization of the sport. And they're not entirely wrong to feel that way. But boxing isn't just about technical brilliance and pure skill anymore. It's about entertainment, and it's about selling a story. And Jake Paul understands that better than almost anyone. The real question is, will the general public care? Will casual fans, the people who don't regularly follow boxing, tune in? The answer, I believe, is a resounding yes. Because it's a spectacle. It's a circus. It's a clash of worlds. And the combination of Gervonta Davis's reputation as a devastating knockout artist and Jake Paul's mastery of self-promotion is a recipe for a massive payday for everyone involved. Think about the content potential alone. The pre-fight press conferences are going to be gold mines. The social media interactions, the trash talk, the training clips, it's going to be non-stop hype for weeks leading up to the fight. And even the fight itself, while likely to be a carefully controlled affair, will be must-watch television. I'm not expecting a brutal slugfest. I'm expecting a performance. I've got a feeling this will be carefully orchestrated and managed, with both fighters instructed to hold back and prioritize entertainment over actual competition. Both fighters will understand the underlying message. This isn't about winning or losing. It's about building your brand and cashing in on the hype. It's a fascinating case study in the evolution of boxing. It's a sign of the times. It's a testament to the power of marketing. And it's a fight that I, for all my cynicism, am genuinely intrigued to see. What do you guys think? Are you excited about Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more boxing content. We'll be breaking down all the latest news and developments leading up to this massive event. Stay tuned. All right, folks, let's talk about it. It's officially happening. The fight everyone's been speculating about. The clash of worlds that seemed almost too crazy to be true. Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul. It's official. The announcement dropped, and the internet absolutely exploded. And honestly, I'm not surprised. The sheer audacity of this fight is captivating. But beyond the initial shock and the memes flying around, there's a whole lot more going on here. We've got the legacy of a true boxing superstar, a social media sensation turned boxer, and a whole lot of money sloshing around. Let's dive in, because this isn't just another boxing match, it's a cultural event. Now, when you first hear about a fight like this, your initial reaction is probably something along the lines of, seriously, Jake Paul against Tank Davis. And look, I get it. I was skeptical too. But hear me out. This isn't just about throwing a couple of guys in a ring and hoping for fireworks. This is expertly crafted entertainment. And both guys, believe it or not, are going to come out of this looking pretty good. Let's talk about Tank. Gervonta Davis, a legitimate boxing superstar. A guy who's racked up some serious knockout power and a reputation for finishing fights in spectacular fashion. He's got a resume that speaks for itself. But what's interesting is the perception around his career. He's got a tattoo on the back of his neck. Strap season. A declaration that he's out to collect all the titles. But let's be real. His career trajectory hasn't really reflected that ambition. He's been chasing legacy fights. The fights that would cement his place in boxing history. And they just haven't materialized. The problem is, those legacy fights, those blockbuster matchups with the absolute best, they don't always bring the biggest paydays. And in the modern era, let's be honest, the money talks. And that's where Jake Paul comes in. Paul isn't a world-class boxer. We're all aware of that. But he's a marketing genius. He understands how to grab attention.
Lamont Roach Jr. also jumping on Twitter and saying, told y'all, LOL, duck, duck, duck. That is in reference. This is Gervonta Davis's last opponent in a fight that
How to build hype and how to leverage social media to create a spectacle. And the sheer size of the check he's bringing to the table is going to be massive. We've all heard the whispers, the rumors about how much he's willing to spend. And the reality is, this fight is going to be bigger than any legacy fight Tank could have realistically pursued. Think about it. Tank Davis versus Crawford. Tank Davis versus Canelo. Those are fights boxing fans crave. But they're complex, they're drawn out, and they've been repeatedly delayed. This Jake Paul fight, it's happening. It's immediate. And it's going to be on a stage unlike anything Tank has ever seen. And when I say a bigger stage, I mean bigger. We're going to see numbers that will make those highly anticipated Crawford-Canelo fights on Netflix look quaint by comparison. Netflix is great, don't get me wrong, but it's a subscription service. This is going to be watched by everyone. The casuals, the hardcore boxing fans, the people who haven't tuned into a boxing match in years. They'll all be watching. It's going to be the biggest event of the year. No question about it. Now, I'll be the first to admit, it's a bit ironic. We'd all love to see Tank go up against the absolute cream of the crop. But sometimes, the business side of things gets in the way. And in this case, the business is undeniable. It's a smart move on Tank's part, whether you love the fight or hate it. But let's be realistic. I'm not expecting a barn burner. I'm not anticipating either guy going all out, leaving it all in the ring. This is an exhibition, a spectacle. It's designed to entertain, not to showcase the absolute pinnacle of boxing skill. I mean, think about it. If both guys went toe-to-toe, risking everything, the risk of injury is huge, and that wouldn't be good for anyone involved. I'm expecting 10 rounds of posturing, of mouth off, of Tank jabbing the body, and Paul missing his hooks. I'll be surprised if either guy really tries to knock each other out. I would genuinely love to be wrong. I want to see fireworks. I want to see a war. But contractual obligations, the nature of the event, it just doesn't feel like it's going to happen. Still, even if it's just a glorified sparring match, it's going to be entertaining. Both guys are charismatic. They know how to play to the cameras, and they're going to put on a show. And then, at the end of the fight, they'll both be laughing all the way to the bank. Seriously, just imagine the bonuses they're getting for this thing. But here's the bigger question, the one that's been weighing on my mind. Love it or hate it, you're watching. But what does this say about boxing itself? Is this actually a positive thing for the sport? It's complicated, like everything else in life. The upside is undeniable. These kinds of fights bring a different audience to boxing, an audience that wouldn't normally tune in. They inspire kids who's never watched a boxing match to get interested and passionate about the sport. But I do question how much of a positive influence Jake Paul is having on that younger generation. He was a huge deal on YouTube a while back. When I was in high school, he was everywhere. But it feels like that era is gone. Now, the kids who know him probably just know him from his boxing career. Back in the day, when people talked about Jake Paul, it was always with a sense of disdain. We thought he was a bit of a show-off, a bit of a tosser, and we wanted to see Deji knock him out. Now, it's like, do people still think he's a tosser and secretly want to see him knocked out? That's the prevailing vibe I'm getting. It's not so much Jake Paul the YouTuber versus Gervonta Davis. It's more like Butterbean versus Davis, but with an infinitely bigger profile. These fights, at their core, do bring a different audience. That's something to be applauded. But at the same time, this is the kind of content people are seeing when they think about boxing. And after witnessing these exhibition-style bouts, it's easy to come to the conclusion that the sport is dying a slow, agonizing death. These kinds of fights feel more like what you're seeing in professional wrestling. It's incredibly smart marketing, brilliant business, but it devalues everything else in boxing. World titles, skills, the years of dedication it takes to climb the ranks, it all seems less important when you can get eyeballs just by being a social media personality who decides to step into a boxing ring. True greatness takes a back seat to sheer spectacle. It feels like...
Okay, there's in MMA, for certain weight classes, you must be a minimum weight, right? You can't be within X percentage difference of your opponent. There are some jurisdictions where I don't believe that is accurate, where that is true. I'm curious if Atlanta is one of them. We should try to look into that if we can. Maybe Jordan can look into that. If there's a weight minimum that you have to meet. Otherwise, if they agreed to a catch weight of, let's say, 100, what's the lowest Jake Paul's ever fought at?
I don't know. 185 for the Nate Diaz fight?
I have to think that's the smallest, right? Here, we're going to do...
Okay, let's say like
Wait.
he can get down to...
Climbing the ladder, building a career, achieving greatness is being devalued in favor of someone who made a pivot from vlogs to boxing, proclaiming themselves one of the greats without providing proof of the claim. But let's be honest, that's just a reflection of the modern world. Money dictates what gets attention. It's less about greatness now, more about engagement. It's about getting people to click, to watch, to share. We're still a few months away from the fight, so a lot can change. Maybe we'll see some unexpected developments. Maybe Tank will come out and absolutely destroy Jake Paul. Maybe Jake Paul will pull off the impossible and shock the world. We'll see. I'm always here to keep you in the loop, to analyze the situation, and to bring you the latest news and updates. But for now, I want to hear from you. What do you think about this huge announcement? How do you see this all going down? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I love reading your takes and hearing what you all think. If you enjoyed this analysis, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel and lets me know what kind of content you're interested in seeing more of. Thanks for watching, folks. I'll catch you in the next video. Alright, folks, let's dive straight into it. The news is out, it's official, and the internet is blowing up. Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul. Seriously. Did you see the reactions? It's wild. This isn't just a fight, it's a cultural phenomenon waiting to happen. For months, we've been hearing rumors, speculation, the classic back-and-forth trash talk that fuels these boxing matchups. But now it's real. It's happening. And believe me, this is going to be a ride. So, how did we even get here? Well, let's rewind a bit. Jake Paul, the YouTube sensation turned boxer, has been systematically calling out legitimate fighters, making a name for himself and building a huge following. He's been taking fights, learning the ropes, and making a lot of noise. He's got the charisma, he's got the marketing savvy, and he's been steadily improving in the ring. He's definitely not your typical boxer, and that's exactly what makes him so appealing to a massive audience. But then you've got Gervonta Davis, Tank, a certified killer in the ring, a legitimate knockout artist, a force to be reckoned with. He's a world champion, folks. This isn't some made-up spectacle. This is a true, elite-level boxer stepping into the ring with Jake Paul. He's got the skills, the power, and the experience to absolutely dismantle anyone he faces. And that's what makes this fight so intriguing, so unpredictable. Let's be honest, the initial reactions are a mixed bag. You've got the hardcore boxing fans scoffing, saying Jake Paul doesn't belong in the same ring as Davis. They're saying it's a mismatch, that it's disrespectful to the sport. And there's some truth to that. Davis is the far more accomplished fighter. But here's the thing. This isn't just about boxing. It's about entertainment. It's about spectacle. It's about the sheer drama of seeing these two personalities clash. Think about the reach this fight has. It's not just boxing fans who are tuning in. It's people who have never even watched a boxing match before. It's people who follow Jake Paul on social media, who are intrigued by the whole narrative. It's bringing in a whole new audience to the sport, and that's a huge win for boxing as a whole, even if the hardcore fans don't want to admit it. And let's not underestimate the draw of Gervonta Davis. Tank isn't just a boxer, he's a star. He brings a certain swagger, a certain aura of danger that makes him incredibly compelling to watch. He's got that knockout power that keeps you on the edge of your seat every single time he steps into the ring. It's that unpredictability, that raw power, that makes him so exciting. So what's the game plan here? What are these two fighters bringing to the table? Jake Paul, you can bet, is going to be relying heavily on his movement, his reach, and his ability to frustrate Davis. He's going to try to make it a technical fight, a chess match in the ring. He's going to try to avoid the big shots, the power punches that Davis is known for. He's got to use his jab, control the distance, and wear Davis down. It's a tough strategy against a fighter like Davis, but it's his best chance. And Davis, He's going to be looking for that one opening, that one chance to unleash his devastating power. He's going to be looking to cover
and then move up and fight a heavyweight.
So the lowest he's been, I went through all the fights. For his first two fights, his first two pro fights, he was 175. Now, this is all the way back in 2020 against Nate Robinson. Since then, the lowest he's been, as you said, was like the 185 around the Nate Diaz fight and also for Tommy Fury. I wonder if Jake can get down to that weight anymore. But regardless of Jake's weight, I can't fathom how Tank Davis would be anywhere in the realm of what he would be. Like, it just, he won't even be in earshot of what Jake Paul is going to be.
And for people, like you just mentioned, Nate Robinson, if you took to Twitter and said, Gervonta, who has been disrespecting my name for too long. His nickname might be Tank, but I'm an FPV drone, and I'm about to disable Tiny